Hey, how's it going, everybody? Sean here from Zoobox. It's me and my air conditioner, so you're probably gonna hear that. And I got another movie review for you, for you today. I guess I hammered it too. Also saw the film Barbie by Greta Gerwig, directed by What is it? Written and directed by Greta Gerwig, and also her boyfriend or husband. I don't know. The father of a few of her children, Noah Baumbach. If you don't know who Noah Baumbach is. Director of some fame, The Squid and the Whale, most recently A Marriage Story. Stars Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, and others. So I kind of went into this movie with no expectations. I assumed it was going to be kind of a feminist film. It was going to be overtly that, like a feminist comedy made specifically for middle-aged women. It's directed at the age demographic of the writer, director, and stars. That's exactly what it was. People were trying to say, like, well, this is proof that the studios are starting to understand go get woke, go broke, and it's like, no, it's not. It never was going to be. The idea that everybody thought that Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie were going to make a Barbie movie that wasn't, for lack of a better way to put it, wasn't woke, wasn't steeped in I don't even know what wave of feminism this is. What are we on? Like the eighth wave? It's like essentially like the thesis of the film is like listening to like a third year gender studies lecture about the nature of men and women, or if we are even allowed to say that anymore, and your place in the world and the things that affect you as a woman out there in the wild. I would say, even though you could just remove all that kind of stuff, though, just take all that stuff aside. Say, like, you just don't like the subtext, or you wouldn't think thematically it's gonna resound with you, whatever. It's just not a good movie. Like, it's just kind of sloppy. It's like oddly paced. The performances are fine. If there is a good thing about the movie, I think they nailed the camp, and the performances, I think, are all kind of pitch perfect. I wish it was in service of better material or just more thoughtful material, even if it was the same message. And I say that as a person because I understand this is not for me. Like, the movie is not like aimed at me as a demographic, 36-year-old bearded nerds. It's not for me. It's for teenage girls and their mothers, which is kind of also a little frightening. It's also a little frightening that, like, just thinking about, like, 14 to 17-year-old girls watching this and being like, yeah. Because it's, and I know a lot of people are harping on this, but it's like that are out there reviewing the movie, but I was taken aback at how, like, overtly sexist it is. Like, it is wildly misandrist. Like, is that the right term? Misandrist? Is that the opposite of misogynist? It's wildly misandrist. I was kind of shocked. It is one of these things where it is upper class elite women going full mask off and just being like, we have the privilege of just hating men. Because we don't need men. We live in a world where men aren't that important for our survival or our dignity or whatever, because we can just buy our way through shit, or that's the perception they have, and it's that kind of shallow and narrow and stupid, and its concerns are very pedantic and do not relate to most human beings on the planet. They try to pay kind of some sort of lip service to this being like an every woman story towards the end of the movie. That didn't really work. Like I said, though, performances are really good. Ryan Gosling, pretty much the only thing in the movie that has jokes that land. The only character whose jokes actually like kind of connect for the most part, outside of the first 20 minutes. Like, the first 20 minutes, they do a pretty good job. Like, you spend the first 20 minutes in Barbie Land or Barbie World. I don't remember what it was called. And a lot of that stuff works. It's got like a good. The camp is very well kind of modulated. Like I said, the actors are doing perfect work within the bounds of that camp, and nobody does it better than Ryan Gosling. He really delivers. He even has kind of he has like a big musical number towards the end of the movie that was pretty entertaining. pretty. It was actually pretty funny. Um, there, and the movie also has kind of, like I said, it has a problem with pace and kind of having a point of view or perspective, because they decide it's full like deconstructionist postmodern take on a movie like this. Like it's like it has no villain. The villain is like an abstract concept. The villain is patriarchy. That's the villain of the film. It also is like full on into like just sex segregation, basically. Like, well, you need to find your own identity. Like it inverts a trope. It inverts a trope of being like, women need to find their own identity out in the world separate from men, post whatever wave of feminism, what second wave feminism, like that would have been the push to do that. Well, now men have to do that because men are too defined by successful, powerful women, and they kind of resent that and they try to keep them down. And that's the lesson that's learned at the end of the movie, is that like, well, no, Barbie and Ken, they're not even really a thing. Like Barbie's not really into Ken. We don't need each other. You need to figure your shit out. Like that's how the movie ends. And it's structured in a way where they could have actually had a villain, and they could have even gone into some kind of woke resolution of equity and equality, etc. Especially when it comes to the Kens and the Barbies. So it ends up being kind of like this subversion, this war that happens when Ryan Gosling Ken comes out into the real world and realizes the patriarchy exists, and then implements the patriarchy back in Barbie land before Barbie gets back, and it ends up being just like a dude's paradise, and all the women fall under the spell of the patriarchy for some reason. Like it's not good. But anyways, there's a third tier here. There's a third element of the movie, which is the Mattel Corporation, the company. And I was like, oh, well, it seems like, Barbie will come back, see Ken's turn Barbie land into a patriarchal hellscape, but they'll end up having to come together and work together and kind of learn a similar lesson about your place in the world and personal identity by going against Mattel. By going against the Mattel Corporation and how they've exploited like the idea of men and women and how they've done that and put up unfair expectations for everybody. It doesn't do that. It doesn't do that at all. In fact, like the Mattel Corporation, it's like basically Will Ferrell's there to be the representative of it. And it's just there for some jokes, just some digs at Mattel for not having enough women CEOs. They're in the movie. They're just in the movie, just there as kind of a distraction. And they kind of show up at the end. And like I said, it's just kind of to make a joke about men selling Barbies. And how crazy, how absurd is that? Just to make capitalism jokes, basically. And it's just, at this point, I just don't understand like how people aren't like exhausted by these fucking movies, by things like this. I guess, apparently audiences are liking it. I think people are very attracted to what they were attracted to in the trailer. Because the marketing campaign for Barbie was very good. Probably the best marketing campaign that's been that a movie's had in 5-6 years. They turned this into an event. I think the internet kind of memed its success as well. The Barbenheimer thing ends up being like a really good thing for both of those movies. People being ironically going to the theater to see Oppenheimer and Barbie on the same day. And both the movies benefited from that. I think Barbie made like $155 million. That's like Avengers money. Like that's crazy. That's a like Warner Brothers might be their biggest hit, I think, maybe ever. It's on track to be one of their most successful movies ever made. Because you got the irony people, the irony bros going to see this movie, and gals. I don't want to be sexist. The irony gals and boys out there going to see it. And also I saw a lot of mothers and daughters. Like when I was coming out of Oppenheimer, a screening of Barbie was also getting let out, and there was a lot of little girls. There was a lot of like 10-year-old girls there with their mothers. I'm not sure, I haven't really heard too many women talk about it. I think most women are kind of in the middle about it because it makes fair points about like the nature of men and women and how we cohabitate, how we treat each other, based on kind of expectations and stereotypes, etc. It says plenty of fair things, right? But it's packaged at the end in this really kind of pernicious, gross message about men and women just not being able to be symbiotic, and that we don't need each other on some very deep, basic, fundamental level. Like, we don't complete each other in any way. And I found that just completely fucking bizarre. I just, like, I don't know. It was just weird. I just found it a little weird. It's a kind of a gross message to send at the end of your movie. That's just my 2 cents. I mean, I know, like I said, I'm not the demographic for it. I think women are having more complicated feelings about it thematically than men are, obviously. I have not really watched, I've just only seen headlines and like the titles of streams, but I haven't actually really watched very many reviews for Barbie or Oppenheimer for that matter. I just kind of not really all that interested, honestly, because I kind of already know what their perspective is. But yeah, I mean, it is, like I said, I kind of expected it to be like this. I did expect the movie to be a little bit better, though. I thought it was going to be better paced. I thought it was going to be put together. I thought it was going to be a little bit more thoughtful. Like, I'm not the biggest Greta Gerwig fan in the world, but Lady Bird and Little Women are pretty okay movies. Like, they're pretty good for what they are. Again, like, not being the target audience for those movies, I can kind of objectively separate myself a little bit and just appreciate it on its own terms. I think this actually just kind of fails as a movie a little bit. It's not wacky enough. It's not zany enough to sustain the camp. And it's got a very muddled message. It doesn't do a good job of kind of building up characters at all. Like America Ferrera and her daughter, which are supposed to be kind of the vectors for the human audience to kind of be able to experience Barbie world and stuff. They're supposed to be, in some ways, they're supposed to be kind of like the part of the heart of the movie. They're completely underdeveloped, not utilized very well. They're kind of just there. Because this is a movie that's about the message over character, and that ends up being its downfall. Like, it's not really, it's interested in the ideas. It's interested in the ideas of deconstructing patriarchy and kind of proselytizing like modern feminism, and it doesn't really care about being a movie or having characters that you care about. It's just not. This is very much like upper class elite women kind of condescendingly talking down to people and being like, you're so fucking stupid, you don't understand what's going on, and we made Barbie say it for you. I don't know. I mean, I watched it with my wife. My wife is my age. My wife, she said she played with Barbies when she was really little, so she has some connection to like those toys at the very least. And she kind of felt this very similarly to me, and we kind of talked about it after we watched it. And we came to that conclusion too, kind of both separately, about being like, oh, like, shouldn't they have worked together to like defeat Mattel? Like the way Mattel markets Barbie, the way Mattel would sell Barbie. But the problem is and I was thinking about it after we had that discussion, like Mattel can't even really be the villain anymore because Mattel has bent the knee, has tried to be as inclusive as possible with that brand, and they've been doing that for the past 25 years. They may have been doing it cynically to like make a buck, but they did it. You know, there's fucking disabled Barbie, there's Barbies of all different ethnicities from all different parts of the world with all different stuff like that. I don't know, isn't there an autistic Barbie now? I mean, they've covered it all. They've done it all. So I guess they don't want to go too hard at Mattel. They just want to make fun of Mattel for not having female CEOs. As if, a woman that would find herself in the position to be a CEO wouldn't be just as cold, ruthless, and fucked up. Actually, she might even be more so. So take that. Take that, bitches. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And that's it. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say about Barbenheimer.